Everybody loves to hate on Roger Goodell. And today, we're gonna look at some of our favorite reasons as to why.
Why?
Roger Goodell is one of everyone's favorite commissioners to hate. From his never-ending hypocrisy to his smug sense of self, there's just no shortage of instances in which he puts himself in a bad light to the fans. There is, however, one part of the Roger Goodell experience that fans do look forward to, and it's watching him make a fool of himself at the draft year in and year out. He's just so damn awkward that it provides a wide array of cringe-soaked moments for fans to get a chuckle in at the commissioner's expense. So, let's revisit some of the most awkward Roger Goodell draft moments from over the years. Roger's, shoulder bump, if that's what you want to call it, with Christian Wilkins is a great place to start. The defensive tackle out of Clemson boisterously charged up to the stage after being selected 13th overall by the Miami Dolphins. Actually, boisterous charge might be an understatement. The man was pumped, and rightfully so. He saw a lifelong dream come true. May as well make the most of that moment. When he got on stage, his celebration continued, and the 6'3", 315-pound behemoth of a man launched himself towards Roger like he was celebrating a hard-earned sack with one of his fellow defensive linemen. To give Raj a little bit of credit, he actually rolled with it pretty well. I'm honestly shocked that he didn't get sent directly to the floor. And when the camera caught a slight glimpse of his face, he actually looked happy too. He is probably so used to the players who are in the NFL hating him that it felt good to have one excited to see him for once. The two of them then embraced in a big old bear hug like they were friends of old, which, considering Goodell was essentially going to be his boss shortly after, was just a little weird. But not nearly as weird as his draft day run-in with Dontari Poe. Poe, who's now a two-time Pro Bowler, was taken with the 11th overall pick in the 2012 NFL Draft by the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know what it is with Roger Goodell and defensive tackles, but the commish found himself in quite the embrace. This time with Dontari Poe. So much so that I heard Christian Wilkins was actually a little bit jealous. I appreciate Poe's youthful embrace, I do, but this looked more like an embrace between a couple of smitten college kids, not a future NFL star and one of the highest paid executives in the world. Their heartfelt embrace started off okay. The excitement was palpable, but it almost got very awkward once the two found themselves nose to nose, looking like each of them was waiting for the other to make a move. Now, I know this was sort of a "this isn't what it looks like" moment, but Roger's crippling awkwardness is what created it, and thus it makes our list. It just has to. When Roger Goodell nearly plants one on a 300-pound defensive lineman, there's no leaving it out. If only it was just his awkwardness that got under fans' skin, and not all of his other reviled qualities. I mean, between the money grubbing, apparent lack of moral compass, and his utter tone deafness at times, it is hard to identify what exactly each fan hates about him that much. But let me tell you, they do. Which is why he almost always ends up getting heinously booed at the NFL Draft. Goodell actually tried to reclaim the narrative on this during the 2020 NFL Draft, which was forced to be virtual as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. He and his minions orchestrated a chorus of boos via Zoom as his way of saying, "See guys, I'm cool, I'm in on the joke."
Let's go. Oh, Strahan, come on, let's go. Come on, you guys can do better than that. All right, keep it coming.
God, is that cringeworthy, especially when he tries to hit us with a zippy one-liner at the end.
Wow, even the virtual boos are good. Yes, I can hear you from my basement, so keep it coming.
Give it a rest, Roger. Just like you did in round 3 of that same draft. I mean, come on, look at this man. Just look at him! He looks like everyone's uncle after Thanksgiving, about to fall asleep with a belly full of whiskey and tryptophan. His eyes are practically sealed shut. He's stumbling over his words and his gut is popped out.
With the 98th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Malik Harrison.
I'm willing to bet that he had already unbuckled his belt too, and he could hardly keep his eyes open after round 1. I don't want to hear any excuses about being tired or overworked either. He was home all day. He should have been resting up then. While that last one was all on him and his general incompetency, there are times where he really is at the mercy of these freakish draft talents, like with Danny Shelton, again, a defensive tackle who was taken 12th overall by the Cleveland Browns. Shelton really made himself at home on the stage, and mid-embrace decided he just wanted to ragdoll the commissioner, like Goodell was his childhood teddy bear. The camera was pretty zoomed out, but still, you can see the utter panic on Roger's face. A panic that he awkwardly tries to play off as the two continue their exchange, 4 feet firmly planted on the stage. Obviously, Shelton meant no harm. He was basically just an overexcited puppy that did not realize his own strength. The entire exchange was filled with joy and jubilation. At least for Shelton it was. Roger, on the other hand, might need to schedule an additional checkup with his physician because that entire ordeal looked like it took years off his life. When he came down, his face was more flushed than a tomato. I know I've mentioned it a time or two before, but I really think Goodell might have a thing for the big burly defensive tackles. And if you haven't seen enough proof thus far, look at this absurdly long hug he shared with Fletcher Cox when he was taken 12th overall by the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2012 NFL Draft. It wasn't even just the length of the hug that made it an awkward exchange. It was all the rocking back and forth and the patting on the back and the eventual eye contact. I might go as far as to suggest that this little exchange just might have been the longest hug that Roger Goodell has gotten in his entire adult life. I mean, that would explain why it got so out of hand. It felt so good to have someone happy to see him that he just could not let it go. The entire ordeal was beyond awkward, in a way that could only happen when Roger Goodell is involved. Some of it he completely brings on himself too. There's no denying that, and this is a perfect 10 out of 10 example. During the 2016 NFL Draft, he decided it would be a good idea to copy Ronnie Stanley and dab on stage. I honestly would not be surprised if he did not even know what a dab was beforehand. He probably just saw Stanley looking cool and tried to imitate his body language. It was clearly not even a choreographed thing either. The two were just holding up opposite shoulders of his draft day jersey, and Stanley, looking fresh as hell in a cream-colored suit, decided to hit the dab. Roger caught one glimpse of it and immediately tried to mimic it. And man, did he miss the mark. No shocker there, though. An out-of-touch man doing out-of-touch things. I know it's tough being on stage for the whole world to see for hours at a time, but you have to think you'd have the common sense not to try and pull a stunt like this one. I mean, just about any time that Roger Goodell tries to look cool or hip, it almost always blows up in his face. Here is another pitiful attempt to look cool by Goodell. This time, he tries to unleash a choreographed special handshake with Melvin Ingram. Just watching it hurts, especially because he looks oh so excited to take this bad boy off the shelf for the entire world to see. I can imagine him sitting up the night before the draft, practicing the handshake with his wife, explaining how badly he wants to impress Ingram and the rest of the social media people who usually mock him, but nope. Another swing and a miss. Just another total cringeworthy moment spawned from a middle-aged millionaire trying to be relatable and cool. His attempts at appearing cool and hip are not limited to physical comedy either. How about some stand-up? Check out Roger Goodell's god-awful attempt at a joke that he unleashed while he was being booed at the 2018 NFL Draft in Dallas. Because the draft was being held in Jerry World, he took the stage at the few Cowboys legends, Jason Witten, Troy Aikman, and Roger Staubach. It's a decision that was probably made to try and stop the fans from booing him into oblivion. Clearly, that did not work.
Welcome, football fans, to the 2018 NFL Draft, Texas style.
It was so bad that you would almost think that the draft was being held in Foxborough, where I'm pretty sure there are still wanted signs up on every street corner for Goodell. Either way, he decided it would be a good idea to try and crack a joke to ease the tension. Over the feverish boos he weakly uttered, he could not believe that the fans would boo the Cowboys. Needless to say, the joke did not land.
I can't believe you guys are booing the Cowboys. Come on. Thank you all for being here.
And when he's not getting booed or telling bad jokes, he's screwing up some of the most basic aspects of the game. I mean, you're the commissioner of the NFL and making tens of millions of dollars every year. How about when you get in front of the cameras for the biggest event of the year outside of the Super Bowl, you pronounce the players' names correctly? It simply cannot be that hard to get it right. Tua Tagovailoa is clearly a mouthful, but after a couple of repetitions, most adults can get it figured out.
The Miami Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama.
And come on, Marcus Mariota doesn't even have a hard name. Neither does Philip Dorsett.
The Tennessee Titans select Marcus Mariota. The Indianapolis Colts select Philip Dorsett.
And how about the way he butchered LaDainian Tomlinson's name? I mean, the guy is only a Hall of Famer and the record holder for most touchdowns in a single season. God forbid the commissioner of the NFL gets that name right.
From the Chargers and the Jets, LaDainian Tomlinson.
Oh, Roger, when will the awkward moments stop? But hey, what do you think was the most awkward Roger Goodell moment in NFL draft history? Join us in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.